There's been reporting that he did drive through the border when he was on the campaign trail in 2008, and he is certainly familiar with the fact, and it stuck with him, with the fact that in El Paso, the border goes right through the center of town.
Here to break down all of this is Congressman Pete Sessions, a member of the House Oversight Committee, and former Acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf, now a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. So, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us tonight. Congressman, I want to start with you. What's your reaction to the press secretary? Is it enough for President Biden to do the equivalent of a drive-by at the border in order to really get a handle of what's a crisis at our southern border?
Well, the first thing to say is I've lived in El Paso, Texas, and the border does not go right through the center of town. It is very close to that. But it is true that the press secretary is simply making excuses for a failed policy that is very, not just chaotic, but is causing our friends and neighbors all around the world to shake their head that America has no desire, none, to protect its border or be concerned about who comes in here. And Chad, who is going to be your guest that's here, served at a time when it was very difficult also, and he made tough decisions. And we made a decision when Republicans were in charge that we will protect our border. We will protect people who live in downtown Indiana also for their children from drugs and massive, massive problems with illegal drugs coming into our country, causing death and destruction. So, look, they know what they're doing, and we do too. And we're going to defeat the Democrats this next November. We're going to defeat them because of the chaos and failed policies of what they're attempting to continue to do to ruin the United States of America.
And Secretary Wolf, I mean, that's a strong point right there, because it's on one hand about the American people, about border security. Every nation has a border, and it's a conversation that, quite frankly, maybe only had in the United States. But on the other hand, more than 125,000 children traveling without parents have made the dangerous trek to our southern border ever since President Biden has taken office. So is this problem getting worse, or is it just not being acknowledged, or is this just one of those issues that's weaponized against one side or the other, depending on who's in power?
Well, it's clearly getting worse. I mean, the situation on the border month after month is getting worse. You talk about the minors coming to the southern border. This president, because of his policy, has separated more children from their parents than in the history of the country. I mean, just that number alone, that parents are separating themselves from their children, sending their children across that border because they know if they get across the border, they remain here in the country. And it's a very dangerous signal to send. You're causing hundreds of thousands of not only minors, but others to be sent on this dangerous, dangerous journey. And let me just say, with the president in the clip that you played earlier, talked about, well, I guess I should go to the border. The president, unfortunately, is slowly being shamed into going to the border to confront this crisis, for him to understand and see it. Now is not a time to be guessing. Now is a time for leadership. And the president should have gone to the border a long time ago. The vice president, the border czar, has only gone one time to El Paso, far away from ground zero in the Rio Grande Valley, that I know the congressman knows well. I mean, this administration is absent from a leadership standpoint in taking control of this crisis and ending it today.
And if you want to draw a contrast between the two administrations, the Trump administration, for example, acknowledged that there was a crisis, in fact, declaring a national emergency at the southern border, where it seems as if this administration is unwilling to do so. It's obviously a PR thing that they're trying to do, ignoring it, hoping that there's no accountability because of that. But Congressman Sessions, there has been reporting this week that President Biden is going to quietly try and revive President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy because he has to. But these are policies that he once denounced as being inhumane. Are you confident that he'll even follow through on this?
Well, I'm confident that we have a crisis. Secretary Wolf very clearly spoke about this because he understands. And the essence of it is not just people and drugs. It is that this administration cannot account for tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 children that came across the border that we have known for years were a part of child trafficking and drug cartels who bring children in this country for very dangerous and illegitimate purposes. This administration has intentionally not followed up to even know where these children have gone. They simply wanted to flood the country with people and drugs, and it is dangerous. And this is not just a precedent that we should be worried about. This is a crisis that is against the law, and that is why they need to revert back to where the law is, and that is where President Trump was, that was tested at least 3 times by the Supreme Court and other courts. It is a good policy, but one in which the rule of law becomes the primary focus, and that's what this administration must move to.
Yeah, it's a scary situation for a lot of people, not only those at the southern border, but as you mentioned, families upwards as well, and not to mention the migrants that are making that trek. In fact, we're seeing a migrant caravan making its way to the border right now. It's a dangerous journey for not only them, but of course the conflicts that could arise when they get to the border. But Texas Congressman Pete Sessions, former acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf, thank you both